Karim, if you are in the green room, please hit that beautiful green button. There he is. Awesome. Bring
Thank
us
you.
home, my man. The screen is yours. It
Yeah,
is.
saving the best for last. I do
There you
apologize.
go.
I'm a little under the weather, so I'll do my best. But I'm not going to waste time with slides. I think seeing is believing. But we're Descope. We are in the customer identity and access management space, so IAM. Um, so we have a dev tool. If you are building authentication authorization into your applications or applications you control, that is where we help out. So with that said, let me share my screen and show you all the cool stuff that we have to offer. There you go. Awesome. So this is the UI for our console. Everything that you see, there's equivalent management API calls. We also have a Terraform provider and a Pulumi provider. So infrastructure as a code being able to fit in with your CI/CD pipeline, pretty easy for us to do. How do we actually integrate with applications? Pretty straightforward. It's a web component, so we have SDKs pretty much for all the popular frameworks out there, and it's a web component that embeds directly into your application. We also do support like that typical redirect, like that OIDC redirect type of flow. The single page app, mobile app redirects to a hosted login page, user logs in, we redirect back. Absolutely support that as well. But a lot of our customers will leverage our SDKs and embed directly in their application. But the heart of our platform is what we call flows. Flows is a visual workflow editor that lets you build user journeys from start to finish. We have like a robust library of templates, so pretty much any use case under the sun, we'd be able to support. I'm going to show you two flows, kind of walk you through what I did and show you the user journey. That should basically bring us to time. But the main differentiator in our platform is if you're familiar with SIAM vendors in their offerings, the way that they all work is you are able to execute custom code or invoke Lambda functions or execute a flow like this, but only at a handful of triggers. So after the user logs in, after they change their password, after a profile attribute is changed, etc., there are triggers, and that's where that custom logic can be executed. That's not the case in Descope. Descope, you are building the entire user journey from start to finish. So you'll see there's a couple of different components. There are screens. So these are like the UI elements that you will see. This is an application, right? So this is an application that that I have Descope integrated with. You see, this is the only bit that's Descope. The rest is hosted by myself, and this web component is Descope. You see, if I come in here, let's add sign in with Apple. I want to allow my users to sign in with Apple. I'll hit save, and then I refresh, and then you see that sign in with Apple. So the login experience is entirely decoupled from your app. You can make changes to it. You can even do things like A/B testing and have that be entirely separated from your app. But this flow, this is a flow that is specific to more B2C type of use cases. In B2C use cases, this is where the person logging in is going to be an end consumer like myself or you. The needs and wants are largely centered around frictionless sign up process. Don't bombard me with a bunch of required fields to sign up. Have social login be available, and do automatic account linking. I don't care if they sign in with social or username and password. It's the same user. Treat them as one user. Progressive profiling. So yeah, if we want a simple sign up page with very little required fields, how do you get that data so that you can market to them better? Maybe don't do it during the sign up process, convert them to a registered user, but then collect that information after the fact. And then lastly, things like passkeys or passwordless authentication methods. Passkeys is gaining a lot of adoption and traction in B2C use cases. But this is a flow that I developed largely to address this type of use case. What you see is, when the user signs up, I'm going to check to see if they're on mobile or desktop, and I'm actually going to do email verification differently if they're on mobile or desktop device. This is a very deliberate design decision that I made, and you'll see exactly why I made this decision. They'll set their password. I will check to see if it's been a part of a breach database. At a minimum, you should be doing that. So let's go ahead and do the sign up process. I'm going to type in my email. That user is not going to exist. So, I had this identifier first. I'm actually checking to see, do they exist? And if they don't, then I'm just going to take them to the sign up page. You could do an explicit sign up. I know lots of people prefer that, but for me, I think that's a nice user journey. I don't know if I signed up or not, so just go ahead and take me to sign up. But notice that I'm on my laptop, so it's going to verify my email with something called an enchanted link. Again, this is a deliberate decision. I notice that if I'm on my phone, it's really easy for me to copy an OTP from my notification. I can verify my email. But I noticed that if I'm on my laptop, sometimes I check my email on my phone, and then you get this weird behavior where like you continue the sign up process on your phone. I've noticed that. So I'm presented with three, digits. I'll hit the right one, but notice that I continued on the laptop, the device that I started the sign up process on. Another thing I'll quickly call out is shockingly few SIAM platforms use what a strength checking algorithm for passwords. Most stick to the uppercase, lowercase decimal symbol policy. Security researchers have been advising against that for quite some time. It makes doing offline dictionary attacks easier because pretty much everyone does the same. They call them leet substitutions. A's become ats, S's become dollar signs, O's become zeros, etc. I've done this, you've done this. And I always illustrate this with this, right? This is a password that most password policies would accept, and we all can see that's an incredibly weak password. So using a strength checking algorithm and guarding against breach credentials, I think as a minimum. In fact, this is my actual LinkedIn password from, I think it was 2012 or whenever they had however many they breached like 150 million. So yeah, it guards against that. It says, hey, use a different password. This one's already out in the public. So go ahead and register that user. If I go back to the flow, next time I'm going to sign in with social. And then notice I have this progressive profiling step. It's basically going to check to see if I have a phone number associated with this account. And if not, I'm going to prompt them for it. This is an optional step. Let's go ahead and do sign in with Google. And I don't have a phone number, so it's going to go ahead, prompt me for it. Go ahead and verify that by OTP. 643-961. And now if I come over here and look at my users, notice that I have a single user object. That username and password I signed up with, that Google account. I even have unique, like my phone number as a unique identifier since I've verified it associated with my account. So I basically have three different unique identifiers associated with my account. Again, single view of the user. The app shouldn't care if I'm signing with Google on Monday, username and password on Tuesday, passkeys on Wednesday. I'm still the same user. That's all that matters. So consolidate that, have a single view of that user. Last thing I'll do is I'll do this promote passkey step. I'm just gonna, I have this set up so I'm doing this for everyone. But you could do clever things like A/B testing. So I can have like a condition over here. We have an A/B test key. So, I'll just do 50-50 and say promote passkey and don't promote passkey, for example, and call this A/B testing. And this is like the flexibilities that flows affords you. So I can do it for only a subset of users, and then kind of like see how does adoption look like? Are how many users have devices where passkeys would work? And of those, how many are registering? And after that, how many are using them? These are all things that you'd be able to see. In fact, we have like really cool flow analytics. So in this like step, I'm seeing like how many devices support passkeys and don't support it, and then see like, okay, yeah, 70% of the time people register, 30% they don't, and you can kind of get a sense of what adoption looks like before you roll it out to everyone. So let's go ahead, sign in, go through that promote passkey step. I'll go ahead and add it. And now my sign in process, it's, it basically it's autofill. I touch my fingerprint, I'm in. And the cool thing about passkeys is it syncs to all my devices. So if I went on my phone, that passkey is available on my phone. Um, it's still secured behind biometrics. Great user experience. But that was a B2C type of flow. B2B, this is where the users are employees of another business. Very different use cases and things that they're interested in. B2B is largely centered around federating with existing identity providers. A few different ways that we help there. We have a concept. Find it. So we have a concept called tenant. This is how you can segregate users in the different organizations. But generally, how do you set up that connection to their enterprise identity provider? For the longest time, this was a white glove type of process. Even if you're using a SIAM platform, you would get on a Zoom call with their IT admin, figure out, okay, they're using Okta, they want to configure it with SAML, and exchange the information, set up that connection. Not the most difficult process, but it still takes like 30 minutes, an hour. You got to schedule time. Instead, it can be a completely self-serve process. So in this example, you've onboarded a business. I say, okay, who's your IT admin? They say Steve. Steve gets an email. They can configure their own identity provider. They say, okay, we're using Okta. We want to do OIDC, and it will walk them through step by step of creating that app in their Okta dashboard. They copy their client ID, client secret. They can do their attribute mapping. You can even do SCIM configuration. So this is a completely hands-off process. Um, that onboarding process becomes a lot simpler, a lot more straightforward. Um, let's go back to the flow. So in this flow, it's an identifier first flow. Um, One, I'm checking to see like, is it IDP initiated? Is this coming from like a chiclet or dashboard, like an Okta dashboard? In which case, we're not even going to show them a screen. We're just going to sign them in. Otherwise, it's a identifier first type of flow. They type in their email. We'll see, is this a federated user? Is this a user that is signing in with their enterprise identity? If so, go ahead. It will automatically route based off the domain. And if not, then we'll present them, with a password. Another thing that we help with are we have widgets. So like our flows, these are web components that embed directly into your application. And you could do all sorts of cool things like delegated user management. So in this case, I'm going to sign in as an admin of a tenant. My name's Gavin. I'm the admin of the Hooli tenant. So I'll hit sign in. I'll type in my password. But notice, excuse me. But if I come into this application, notice I have this user management widget, and I'm able to see users, but only users that belong to my tenant. So I, as a tenant admin, can essentially have control over my own users. I can do things like reset passwords. I can even do things like I was kind of demoing this concept of we have authorized processors and you can change a spend limit, right? So in this case, I'm going to change the spend limit from 15,000 to 10,000, et cetera. And I'm able to do this only because I'm an admin, right? So we have widgets as well that can extend functionality. Um, Now, with the 3 minutes I have left, oh, actually, one other thing I want to talk about with B2B is smart MFA policies. So B2C, I'd say MFA is less likely to be a requirement. B2B, it's far more important. But having smart MFA policies, I think always on MFA is generally a bad idea. at a bare minimum, I think having it be behind a risk score. So we get a risk score. Cloudflare is our edge provider. We basically give this to you at no charge. The risk score that we are getting that you can consume in the flow. And if you want to do something like step up MFA on high risk logins, you're absolutely able to do that. If you don't want to use Cloudflare, we have connectors with a variety of like vendors that are really in this like fingerprinting space. So if there's already a vendor you're using, or if you have like in-house engines or models that you want to use to do that sort of stuff, by all means. In addition to like stepping it up based off a risk score, do it contextually. So if a user signs in with username and passwords, put the bare minimum scopes in their token. Let them. The example I always give is like if they type in username and password, let them see the account balance. But then if they want to transfer $500 out, that's where it's like, okay, I want more privileged scopes. That's where you can step up MFA. With the last minute I have left, I will touch on authorization. So it's not just authentication, it's authorization. We support roles-based access control. We also do that in the bounds of a tenant, right? So I have a tenant, I can define roles specific to that tenant. So I can have use cases where I, as a user, belong to multiple tenants, have different roles in different tenants. That is something that surprisingly lots of IAM platforms do not support. That comes up a lot in B2B use cases. Attribute-based access control, right? So as a user, I can have custom attributes that you can make policy decisions based off of. Tenants also can have custom attributes that you can make policy decisions off of. And then the last thing is fine-grained authorization, so relationship-based access control. If you're familiar with Google Zanzibar, this is basically a Google Zanzibar-like system where you have a schema where you define like different relationships that can exist. And then the authorization checks are driven largely on whether or not a certain relationship exists. So this is how you can get hierarchical authorization use cases. This is where you could do that really fine-grained, securing individual objects, individual documents on that basis. But I think that's it for me in terms of time. So hopefully we have some time for questions.
Yes,
Sure.
absolutely. Karim, that was awesome. Thank you so much. And for you being under the weather, you were 100% here. So
Thank you. I was like took so many cough drops before this call. So
they worked out, man. They worked out. First question we wanted to quickly ask you is, does Descope log identity events in some form of audit?
yes,
Or, is there any sort of details you could share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So like we have audit and troubleshooting built in. So we track a lot of these events. But generally speaking, a lot of our customers want to just stream these to a SIM tool that they're using. So Splunk, Datadog, wherever they're using, we support that as well, right? So we do track the logs. I forget what our retention is. I think it's 30 days. But obviously, if you want more retention, I would say most enterprise customers are going to be streaming it to a SIM type of tool, which we have connectors for that as well.
Got it. Awesome. And Joe, I think you had one more for him.
Yes, I do. Can you manage the user journey flow via your Terraform provider?
Yeah. It's funny, like the visual workflow editor trips up a lot of developers and they don't think it can fit with a typical CI/CD type of pipeline. At the end of the day, like that workflow, it's a JSON object. Like that's how we store it on the back end. So we do have a Terraform provider. We have a Pulumi provider. We have like a CLI tool. So pushing from like dev to staging to prod, really easy for us to do. The fact that it's a visual workflow editor does not prevent us from fitting in with that typical developer type of workflow. But yes, we specifically have a Terraform provider.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Karim, again, appreciate you and the Descope team for doing the demo. With that, we are going to finish up with one more demo of Link. So I will be grabbing the screen and start doing that.
Yeah, I can't see how to stop sharing. I apologize.
Oh, no worries. Let's see. There we go. I got you booted.
Awesome.
But again, thanks again and feel better.
Thank you. Take care.